Before kings, before lions, before fire, there was a boy with no power, taken from his home. But what happens when that boy refuses to bow not just to kings, but to fear itself? This is the story of Daniel. And every chapter opens a new threat, a deeper test, and a greater revelation of who God truly is. Daniel, a story of faith, courage, and God's sovereignty. Chapter 1. The Fall of Jerusalem and Daniel's Captivity, 605 BC. But in Babylon, comfort is a new kind of captivity. Will Daniel remain faithful when the pressure doesn't come from spears, but from silver plates and golden wine? Around 605 BC, the great city of Jerusalem fell. King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon conquered the kingdom of Judah. Nobles and young men of royal and priestly families were taken captive to Babylon. Among them was a young man named Daniel. Daniel was about 15 to 17 years old, a youth of noble descent, likely connected to the royal family or priesthood. Known for his wisdom, intelligence, and deep devotion to God, his name meant, "God is my judge." Alongside Daniel, 3 other youths were taken. Hananiah, about 16 years old, later renamed Shadrach, brave, loyal, and wholly committed to God. Mishael, about 16 years old, later named Meshach, steadfast, humble, with quiet strength. Azariah, around 15 years old, later called Abednego faithful and bold, unafraid to stand for his beliefs. These 4 young men faced an uncertain future in a foreign land. Their story would be one of faith, courage, and divine intervention. Chapter 2. Life in Babylon, choosing faith over comfort, 604–601 BC. Their quiet resistance gave them favor. But that favor would soon place Daniel in front of a furious king, and a dream no man could explain. Taken to Babylon, Daniel and his friends entered a royal training program designed to prepare them for service in King Nebuchadnezzar's court. This program lasted 3 years, and by the time it ended, they were about 18 to 20 years old. They were taught the language, literature, and customs of Babylon. The king provided them with rich food and wine. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself. Daniel's integrity shines in this moment. Instead of succumbing to the temptation of royal delicacies, he chose a simple diet of vegetables and water. After 10 days, Daniel and his friends appeared healthier and wiser than all others. Daniel 1:8 tells us, "But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. God blessed their faithfulness. Their wisdom and understanding impressed the king. By the end of their training, they were promoted to important positions in the Babylonian administration." Chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar's Dream, the Statue of Empires, 602 BC. The statue had fallen in a vision. But would Nebuchadnezzar fall in real life? And how would Daniel respond when pride reached its boiling point? In about 602 BC, King Nebuchadnezzar, then around 40–45 years old, was tormented by a mysterious dream. No one in his kingdom could interpret it. Frustrated and furious, he ordered the execution of all the wise men. Daniel prayed to God for revelation. God granted him the ability to recall and interpret the dream. The dream featured a giant statue made of various materials: a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet made partly of iron and partly of clay. Daniel explained, the head of gold represented Nebuchadnezzar and his Babylonian empire. The silver, bronze, and iron part represented future empires that would rise and fall. Finally, God's eternal kingdom would crush all earthly kingdoms and endure forever. Though proud and powerful, Nebuchadnezzar gave praise to God, acknowledging his sovereignty. Chapter 4. The Humbling of Nebuchadnezzar, 601–594 BC. The king was humbled, and peace returned for now. But for Daniel's closest friends, a different trial was coming. And this time, the flames were real. but pride is a dangerous thing. In 601 BC, Nebuchadnezzar's arrogance peaked as he boasted, "Is not this great Babylon, which I have built as a royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" God humbled him. For 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar was struck with a form of madness. He lived like a wild animal, eating grass and roaming the fields. His hair grew long like eagle's feathers and his nails like bird claws. Then, God restored his sanity. Nebuchadnezzar praised the Most High and declared, "His kingdom is an eternal kingdom, his dominion endures from generation to generation." This story is a powerful reminder. No earthly power can stand against God's will. Chapter 5. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the fiery furnace, circa 597 BC. They walked through fire and came out untouched. But Babylon's days were numbered. And when its last ruler mocked God, the writing would be, quite literally, on the wall. Around 597 BC, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, now roughly 23 to 25 years old, faced one of their greatest tests. Nebuchadnezzar built a massive golden statue and commanded all to bow before it. But the three friends refused. They boldly declared, "We will not serve your gods or worship the image you have set up." Furious, the king ordered them thrown into a blazing furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual. The flames were so intense they killed the soldiers who threw them in. Yet inside the fire, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were unharmed. Daniel 3:25 tells us, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." God sent a divine protector, an angel, to shield them. When they emerged, not even their clothes smelled of smoke. Nebuchadnezzar praised the God of Israel and declared, "No other God can save like this." Chapter 6. Daniel's interpretation of the writing on the wall, 539 BC. The empire fell that night. A new king rose. And Daniel would be tested once again this time, not with fire or dreams, but with lions. By 539 BC, Daniel was about 83 years old. The Babylonian Empire was in its final days. King Belshazzar, Babylon's last ruler, held a lavish feast. He and his nobles drank from sacred vessels stolen from Jerusalem's temple. Suddenly, mysterious writing appeared on the wall. No one could interpret the message except Daniel. The inscription, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, meant, "God has numbered the days of your kingdom. You have been weighed and found wanting. Your kingdom will be divided and given to others." That very night, Babylon fell to the Medes and Persians, exactly as Daniel had foretold. Chapter 7. Daniel in the lion's den, circa 539, 530 BC. Even the lions obeyed God. But the beasts Daniel would face next were not of this world. After the fall of Babylon, Daniel served under King Darius, a Mede, who appointed him as one of 3 high administrators. Daniel was now in his mid-80s. Jealous officials tricked King Darius into issuing a decree forbidding prayer to any god or human except the king for 30 days. Daniel, faithful as ever, continued to pray openly 3 times a day. Caught in the act, Daniel was sentenced to the lion's den. The den was sealed and a stone was placed over it. But Daniel remained unharmed. Daniel 6:22 says, "My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions so that they have not hurt me." The next morning, King Darius found Daniel alive. The king praised Daniel's God as the living God who rescues. Chapter 8. Daniel's visions, prophecies of future kingdoms, circa 550 BC onward. Empires rise and fall, but Daniel's vision spoke of something greater, a kingdom that would never end. A Messiah was coming, but so was a storm. Throughout his later years, Daniel was given visions revealing the course of history. Around his 70s and 80s, God showed him beasts rising from the sea. Daniel 7 describes these terrifying beasts: a lion with eagle's wings, a bear raised on one side, a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, a dreadful beast with iron teeth, unlike anything seen before. These symbolize successive kingdoms. Then Daniel saw the Ancient of Days God judging these kingdoms. God's kingdom will never be destroyed, but will last forever. Chapter 9. Visions of God's sovereignty and the coming Messiah. The scrolls were sealed, the visions were set in motion, but Daniel's part was done. Now, it's ours to live out. In his later years, Daniel received profound visions, revealing the rise and fall of future kingdoms and the coming of God's eternal kingdom. Through angelic revelation, he learned of the Messiah's arrival and God's ultimate plan for redemption. This filled his heart with hope and strengthened his faith in God's sovereign timing and everlasting promises. Chapter 10. Lessons from Daniel for our lives today. What can we learn from Daniel's incredible journey? First, unwavering faith even under pressure. Daniel and his friends refused to compromise even when their lives were at risk. They remind us to stand firm in our convictions, no matter the cost. Second, God's sovereignty over history and our lives. No kingdom lasts forever, only God's kingdom is eternal. Trusting God means resting in His control, even when the world seems chaotic. Third, courage invites God's protection and presence. Though faithfulness may lead us into lions' dens or fiery furnaces, God promises to be with us, sustaining and delivering. Fourth, the power of prayer and obedience. Daniel's life shows us the importance of daily communion with God and living according to His standards. Fifth, hope in God's promises. Like Daniel, we can hold on to God's vision for the future, a kingdom of justice, peace, and eternal life through Jesus Christ. No matter your age, your background, or your struggles, be like Daniel. Strong in faith, courageous in trials, and devoted to the living God.